So let's go over what we covered in this module. So the first thing that we did is we went through and we talked about collections in general. What are collections? Basically just a grouping of things that make our life easier as a Java programmer, because we don't have to implement all these complex algorithms when dealing with groups of things. Then we went through and we talked about each type of collection, and then we went through a little example in the code. First we saw a list, and we saw how a list can be used to basically store up a collection of things that are ordered, and then it makes it very easy for us to iterate through the list to go through a collection of things. Then we saw how a map can be used to map two things together, and how this is very useful in Java whenever we want to take two pieces of data and map them together so that we could maybe iterate through each item or associate data together. Then we went through and we looked at a set, and we saw how a set is a good way to make sure that you have a unique set of things inside of your group. So we could basically add things to a set and make sure that we never have more than one. It allows us to keep things unique. Then we saw the example of using a queue, and we saw how a queue could add some process to our list. So we could basically create a list, and we could make that list into a queue, and then we would be able to process things in a specific order. And then finally, we looked at some ways to be able to combine collections. I showed you how you could use a map and combine that with a list in order to have a mapping of lists. So you could combine strings and have a string represent each list, and you could really use that to do some very useful things in Java. Well, that's it for collections. Hopefully you have learned a lot about collections, and collections are one of those things that's really useful in Java. It takes a little bit to master, just to kind of think in collections, but once you get good at collections, you'll find yourself really thinking in collections, and it'll really make a lot of problems easier to solve in Java.